Greetings, comic lovers, and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Today, something special, an interview. We're talking to Alexandra Monir, the author of Black Canary, Breaking Silence. This is a DC Icons book, so it's one of those young adult novels where it's a prose book, but many of them have been adapted into graphic novels, and the rumor is potentially that maybe it will become one. Time of recording, we'll see what happens. Breaking Silence is set in a dystopian future Gotham, where the Court of Owls has taken over. Dinah Lance has never known a different life. Everybody in society is oppressed, but especially women who have literally been silenced. This is a tale about Dinah discovering the revolution, her history, and would it be a Black Canary story without a burgeoning romance with Oliver Queen? Sometimes I wish, but in this case, it turned out okay. We chat all the things. We talk about the book, we talk about DC Icons, getting involved with working with DC, so if you're curious about that, I know some people do have questions about the process by which these books come about, so we're gonna get into all of that. And of course, we talk comics, being a fan, and Black Canary. Also, there is a special signed poster up for grabs by both author and cover artist. So if you want to know how to get that, well then you gotta stay tuned because we give the info in the interview. That's right, proper YouTube things. I'll also reiterate how to get it at the end. Ooh yeah, full YouTube mode. So I hope that you enjoy our conversation, and there is going to be a link down in the description to get the book if you are interested. It's both interview and chit chat, a conversation. Well, let's take a look. Greetings, comic lovers, and welcome back to Casually Comics. And as you can see, this is something very special and very different. We are doing an interview with Alexandra Monir, an author, a singer, and she's written a DC Icon book. We have it right here, Black Canary, Breaking Silence. So I'm very excited. I'm so glad you're able to join me today.
Oh, thank you so much. As I was telling you before, I'm such a big fan of this channel. And I remember when I was doing early research into Gotham City and some of these characters, I remember watching your videos, and I love them. I love the way that you break everything down. So it's so much fun for me to be here today.
No, thank you so much. And I really enjoyed a lot of the little details that you were mentioning. You did research in this book. Like I noticed that the Dinah we're dealing with here is actually Black Canary 2, which was a detail that I enjoyed very much because of the whole wonky, she becomes her own mom thing. So.
Oh my God, I love your video, by the way, where you describe all the different retcons. Oh my God, it's so funny. It's so great the way that you go into it, because it is just like so... It's kind of hilarious, like all the versions of her, and one and then two and then one. So it's great whenever I have to like explain to people which version of Black Canary I'm writing. I'm like, watch that video on Canary.
How was the research process for this?
It was so much fun. Honestly, it was like the best homework ever, because I'm a big history nerd. I just love all sorts of, going back into the canon from the very beginning. And so it was so fun to get to look at those early Black Canary comics from the 40s, and then just kind of tracking her evolution over the years. I also got to do things like, during my lunches, like sit and watch Gotham and take notes. And like, I swear I'm working. And yeah, just reading a ton, watching a ton, and then just really kind of pulling everything that I thought worked, like little threads from the canon, from different comic books, I pulled, as you saw in the book, I pulled a lot from Batman as well. So just kind of taking all the things that I loved and seeing like what would make a really compelling and fresh story. Because I know obviously, Black Canary and Green Arrow, who's also in the book, there's been a lot of content about them. So I felt like if I was going to do something, I wanted to, make it really fresh and worthy of the fans' time.
I really enjoyed it. And I think that there are lots of things that for people who are already familiar with the canon, they'll get a lot out of it, because there are those little Easter eggs of people who are there, and then it's slowly revealed who they are as Dinah learns who they are. So that's very fun, because if you already know, you're kind of like, oh, I know that person. Like, are they going to be the role that you know them as, or are they going to be doing something different? So that was a really fun aspect of reading it, for sure.
Oh, yay. It was so fun. I remember my brother, because he's a big DC fan, and he's actually the one that got me into comic books when we were a lot younger. When, slight spoiler alert, when Barbara Gordon sort of makes her first appearance, but you don't really know, it's very much hinted at. My brother was like, oh my God, I like jumped out of my chair and was so excited. And that's what I was going for as a fan too. Like I wanted you guys to have that fun with the discovery of, wait, is this who I think it is? And are they going to be that superhero role?
So you write YA novels. So how did you get involved in the DC Icon project?
Oh my gosh, it was such a dream, and I'm still pinching myself over it. So my 5th book that came out in 2018, it's a sci-fi novel called The Final Six, and that book kind of got the most attention out of my books thus far. It had a movie deal attached with Sony, and I got sent to a lot of different Comic-Cons, so the regular Comic-Con, but also WonderCon and Phoenix Fan Fusion and just like a lot of those different things. And so while I was kind of going to these events one after another, I was introduced to a couple of editors at DC. And because of my musical background, as we got to know each other and as they found out more about my background, they were like, oh, have you ever thought of writing something about Black Canary? And I was already a fan of Black Canary, but I just never knew that you could just do that. You know what I mean? Like it sounded like fan fiction. I'm like, oh my God, that would be amazing. So I immediately, just kind of thinking about it, I sort of came up with this storyline that a lot of people have kind of called Handmaid's Tale meets the DC universe. And with this dystopian kind of sinister government forces and obviously the role of women in the story. And so I pitched it to them and they loved it. But as I was writing it, I started feeling, so we were initially talking about a graphic novel, but as I was writing this pitch, I started feeling like I just have so much I want to say in this book. And I even wrote, there's a very pivotal song in the book that kind of is introduced along with the introduction of Black Canary's vocal powers. And I wrote that whole song, like all the lyrics and everything, as I was writing this pitch. So that was kind of my first clue that I think this needs to be a prose novel first, and then maybe adapted to graphic novel, because I want everyone to get to read the lyrics, and I just wanted to be able to spend that time in Dinah's head. And so I knew that there was this DC Icon series where they had taken 4 mega #1 New York Times bestselling authors and each given them, you know, a household name character, Leah Bardugo with Wonder Woman and so on. And so I basically just kind of, with my pitch, I had my agent pitch me to that editor. And I was so thrilled. She loved it. She sent it to DC and Warner Brothers. They loved it. But it was really exciting because it was one of those things where, you know, I got to join this lineup of authors that are like stratospheric, and I'm sort of, you know, on my way there, not quite there yet. And so it's such an honor that I get to be in that lineup as the 5th author in it, and just that I get to introduce Black Canary to a wider audience, because the other books in the series were all, I mean, everyone knew them: Catwoman, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. And Black Canary, I mean, we DC fans obviously know and love her, but I can't tell you how many people I told I was writing this character and they said, wait, who is she again? And then I would always have to explain her in the context of either Harley Quinn or in the context of Green Arrow. And I just wanted her to be like a household name on her own, you know?
No, I totally agree, because I think she has the staying power to do that. I saw that recently they released a trade with all of her early stories, which was so exciting to me because some of her earlier appearances were harder to find. But I was like, I want that for her because she is really interesting. And I'm not personally the biggest fan of her and Ollie together in general. I liked them in this book, but in general, like, I don't feel that she always needs to be attached to him. So she can also do her own things. Because when the book arrived at my house and my dad picked it up, he was like, your Catwoman book's here. And I was like, no, Dad, no.
It's not Catwoman. I know, but you know, it's so true. It's really like, she is that character that us fans really know and love so well. And it's been amazing through releasing this book. I've gotten to know a lot of the incredible fans of hers on Twitter. I feel like I've become friendly with a lot of them because they've been so amazing and supportive of this book and championing it. It's been really awesome. It's like they're like part of the Warner Brothers DC marketing team, the way they talk about this book. you would think that they were like part of it, but they're just genuine fans and they're so exciting. They're so excited about it. And so that's what's been so nice to see is she has like this amazing core following, but she just needs to be more widely known. Like she should be as widely known as Catwoman and Wonder Woman, you know.
Mm-hmm. I would totally watch a Black Canary movie if they made one.
That is my dream. I know. I was hoping, so I loved the Birds of Prey movie, and I want them to do a spin-off with Jess Journey Smollett because I loved her portrayal of Dinah. And I'm like, I want another one of those movies. I loved that movie so much, but I want one like just about Black Canary.
I've admitted before on my channel, but I did go out and buy gold pants inspired by that movie.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That is a very good idea.
I loved the aesthetic, like especially her aesthetic in that movie. I thought it really worked. Like there was lots of really interesting cinematography and stuff there that I enjoyed.
Me too. And that opening when she's singing It's a Man's World, I was like, oh my God. I was hooked from that minute.
So what was your inspiration for the type of dystopian world that you created in Gotham with the Court of Owls?
Yeah, well, so I was very much a fan of the whole Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Court of Owls storyline and Batman that I think it's been like 10 years now that came out. I just thought they were such good villains and really fresh as opposed to a lot of the villains that we'd seen a lot. I just felt like they were such a cool, unique kind of group of villains. I love the history behind it. So I knew I wanted to include them in some way. And then when I was first thinking what kind of Black Canary story I would tell, for me, what has always struck me about her as a character and really meant a lot to me is the fact that her power is in her voice. Because women have historically been silenced so much, and I have a very sort of personal relationship to this because my family, I'm full-blooded Iranian. I was born in America, but my parents, they escaped from Iran after the revolution of 1979. And they came here, but before the revolution, women had so many rights and they were, very powerful. My grandmother, I don't know if you can see her. Oh, there she is right behind me, Monir Vakhili. She was Iran's foremost opera singer, and she was this big star who also did a lot to elevate women coming up in the arts. She opened the first boarding school where girls and boys together, it was the first co-ed school where they could learn classical singing like her. She even made it affordable so that you didn't have to come from one of like the fancy aristocratic families to get this kind of arts knowledge. So she did so much, but then when the regime changed after the revolution of 1979, everything changed immediately. Women's rights were just completely stripped to the point where, and it still lasts to this day, in 2021, if you are a woman and you sing publicly, you can go to jail. I wish I was kidding, but it's true. And so overnight, my grandmother lost her whole career, her voice. They closed the school. The opera company she founded was shuttered. I mean, just everything. And then they had to escape. And so I just come from this history where I know how valuable and how vulnerable women's voices are. So to get to write a character where that's her power, I mean, that is just so mind blowing to me. And then also I'm living in the United States where there's a lot of still inequality in a lot of areas, racial inequality, gender inequality, so much. And so, there have been a lot of times over the years where I see women kind of being diminished and certain rights and freedoms and choices being challenged to where I think, oh God, like this is what happened in Iran. And my mind will sometimes like tumble many steps forward. What if something like that happened again? So that's kind of where the inspiration came from, because I could see something like that happening in Gotham City if the bad guys took over.
I liked how it was handled because when I read your acknowledgments and I saw that you were part of the Iranian Women's Foundation, I thought that might have been part of the inspiration because there was a genuineness to it. And I recognized some of the things from like when I read Persepolis and the like, some of those changes. And so it made it a very interesting read in the fact that it was nuanced and you felt that kind of pervasive sense of fear. Yeah. And you felt it from all of the characters, not just the women, but also the men. Like everybody was just kind of uncomfortable. And I thought that was conveyed very well. And I think that makes it a very good message, especially for the young adult audience, where admittedly sometimes depending on the work, it can be a bit like sledgehammery. So I really appreciated that this one was not.
Thank you. No, that's so what I was going for. Like at the end of the day, like most important, I want to give you all a great story. One, especially in this whole like pandemic world we're living in, I wanted it to be like this escape and fun and exciting and to feel like you're watching a comic book movie. But I do feel like the best comic books and best superhero movies, there's always a deeper message. And so for me, that was really important. And again, I just felt like there was a lot that was kind of relatable to what's happening right now. And something else I really tried to do too is a lot of times when we're talking about sort of feminist themes and female superheroes, a lot of times that can get a little bit misconstrued as, oh, like me saying that the girls are good and the men are bad. And that has never, ever, ever been my feeling or intention. All I ever thought is like, you know, women should be equal. That's it. And so it was really important and fun for me to be able to write these kind of male ally characters who are, you know, males who are just as sympathetic in the story, who are just as upset about what's going on with the Court of Owls. And then also you've got some women who are awful in this and who are named the Court of Owls. So that's what I was really trying to do, is that, you know, equal rights is not a like, you know, one gender versus the other. It's really just, you know, all of us like wanting to be on an equal playing field.
Yeah, and in a society that is free. So.
Exactly. Yes. Definitely.
So you mentioned earlier that when you first like were pitching it and everything, the fanficky kind of thing kind of flashed through your mind. So how did you find it different working with these characters versus working with your own?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I have to say it was such a joy to be able to like have this incredible world to play with Gotham City. I was like, oh my God, this is like a dream. Like, because when I write my own stories, there's so much time where it's like, I'm just sitting there, just imagining everything. Like, this is what the streets look like. I mean, this is everybody's different backstories. And it really does take almost as much time as the actual writing, is figuring out what is this world? Who are these people? And so to be able to come into the story with that already, with like a roadmap already laid out for me, but me being able to just kind of turn it on its head, that was so much fun. In the case of Gotham City, what was really fun was kind of taking a lot of the landmarks that we know and love and just imagining, okay, what would it look like in the dystopian future when the villains have essentially taken control of the city? So I wanted it to be kind of like even grittier than we know Gotham City to be, even grittier, even more, you know, a lot of things have kind of fallen apart, run down. So that part was really cool. It was getting to take things that we all know and sort of playing with them, turning them on their head.
And how did you deal with what I like to call the Batman problem, which is whenever you're writing a story about Gotham, you always need to be like, but where's Batman? So like, how did you approach that?
It was very simple. Batman is an old man who died of old age in this one. So that was the fun part about setting it in the future, was that like I was able to kind of say like, this is what happens when your superheroes get old and die, and there's like none, either there's none left or there's none left in the open, basically. So so basically the way I kind of have it is that the Court of Owls were coming to power more and more as Batman was aging. So basically, as he was becoming less and less able to contend as like an 80-something-year-old man to contend this rising group, that's when they started to become more and more dangerous and having more influence, really coming out of the shadows, if you will. So by the time the Court of Owls essentially take over Gotham City, Batman's died of old age, you know, Commissioner Gordon, like they're all gone essentially. So that's really how I dealt with it. And gotta say that made it a lot easier.
And how did you find...
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and I felt like I wasn't competing with with other versions of Gotham City that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to feel like I was stepping on any of those toes.
How did you find balancing the relationship and romantic aspects of this burgeoning relationship between Dinah and Ollie and the dystopian revolutionary aspects of the story?
Ooh, that was really an interesting challenge because I knew I wanted to have that developing love story. I also knew that the story needed the lightness of the banter between Dinah and Ollie. I knew that we needed a break from like the Court of Owls, the oppression that they're kind of causing over all these people. I knew I didn't want it to be heavy the whole way through. I wanted that lightness of first love and everything. So it was really like a tonal kind of challenge of having to go back and read a bunch of what I had already written to make sure, okay, this is fitting in. And I think the biggest way the thing that helped me the most was really involving Oliver in the A plot, which was what's happening with the Court of Owls and how Dinah is becoming more and more of a target, essentially. So it was fun to play with also Oliver's very privileged, billionaire boy next door background. And, at the beginning of the book, he is very much presented as being kind of aligned with the sons and daughters of the Court of Owls. And so you don't really know what the deal is with him. And as he's, showing an interest in Dinah and there's this undeniable spark, you don't know, is it for real? Is he playing her? And so that really enabled me to kind of weave those threads together of the A plot with the Court of Owls and the danger and everything, but also the B plot of this simmering romance and is he good or is he not? And so that's kind of how I dealt with it. But it was very much a balance.
I was as always thrilled when the island showed up. I'm always, whenever Ollie is anywhere, I'm like, the island.
Hey.
we can't escape from the island.
Totally, of course. I know that was really fun. I felt like I was kind of vision boarding like my favorite settings that I wanted to use, like from the island to the Barbara's library and just, all sorts of.
So you said that you wrote the songs that are in the book. Did you also end up singing them or recording them at any point, or did you just end up writing them?
Yeah, so one of them, the Black Canary Sings, I did record, and if you YouTube or Google the book trailer for this book, they use the chorus in the trailer, which is really fun. And then Penguin Random House Audio has a Spotify channel, and they have the song The Black Canary Sings, the whole thing you can stream on there. And I'm still waiting to find out from DC and Warner Brothers if there's other places that we can make the song available. But yeah, for now it's on SoundCloud. Did I say Spotify or SoundCloud?
Spotify, I believe.
Oh, sorry, I meant SoundCloud. Penguin Random House Audio SoundCloud. The song is on.
No, that's really cool.
Thank you. It was really fun. It was so much fun to record it and to get to go back to my, because I started my career as a teen pop singer. So to get to go back to my musical roots in the studio and recording this song and really channeling Dinah as I was singing it was really fun.
Hey ladies, we're taking back our dreams. There's no limit to what we can achieve. No more barriers.
So I know a lot of people in my audience probably don't know, like, how is the process of like writing a book? Like, how many revisions do you have to go through? Like, what's it like?
Yeah, it's very involved for sure. It's definitely it can take over your life in the best way. So basically, I started out with an outline. And I basically said, it was fairly long, maybe like 50 pages, double spaced. And it kind of took me through from the very beginning, like, this is what's going to happen in chapter 1. And I kind of outlined every chapter up until like kind of the pivotal moment. I'm just going to say the ball scene. You'll know what I mean. I don't want to spoil too much for the audience. At that point, I kind of outlined up until a very pivotal moment. And then I sort of, from there, like to kind of explore. Like, I like to outline up to a point, and then I like it to feel exciting. Like, I myself don't really know what's going to happen. So outlined, got approval on the outline from DC and Warner Brothers and Random House. And then I started drafting. You write a rough draft that's always really rough and you don't want anyone to ever read it. Your editor will. Thankfully, it was just Random House that read it. We waited until I think maybe like draft 4 or something like that for DC and Warner Brothers to read it and give their notes. And then, so by that point, I've really gotten it into really strong shape. Basically, my first draft, I'm sort of getting all my ideas out there, and I'm not necessarily as concerned with, okay, how fabulous of a read is this? Because I know I can make it better in next draft. It's just getting everything out there on the page so that I have something to revise. And then for me, revisions, rewriting is where really the magic happens, where I really spend time with each sentence and make sure like, I love everything that's on the page and finesse the character development, the relationships, all of that. Then DC and Warner Brothers saw it once it was like at that point, you know, where I was really happy with it. Random House was really happy with it. And then they give their notes on just, you know, character specifics. If maybe, so for example, I mentioned the Joker very briefly and they said, just take that out, you know. Yeah, they just didn't want any mention of the Joker in there. Or just any, I think I brought in, I can't remember now, but there was a character that I brought in at the end in a battle scene where they were like, this is way too late to introduce a character that we all know, like, sorry, you have to like take them out. So there were just things like that. But that was really cool. It was the first time I'd had more than just me and my editor kind of going through the book and getting it ready for publication. It was the first time I had this whole other entity, which is DC and Warner Brothers. And I actually really liked that because by the time I got their seal of approval, I really felt like good. You know what I mean? I felt like, I know that this is going to make the fans happy because, you know, I knew that it had gotten the blessing of the powers that be. So I think I needed that for my confidence.
Is it something you'd want to do again?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So I'm like dying to write a sequel to this. I don't know if that's in the cards because so far they haven't done any sequels to these DC Icons books. I think they're kind of making it standalone. But that's why I'm so excited about the prospect of fingers crossed, a graphic novel adaptation. I definitely have dreams of a TV series adaptation or just, you know, a sequel to this because I just loved being in their world so much. And there's so much more I could see happening. I also am doing my next book that comes out in 2022 is actually for Disney. I'm writing the YA historical fantasy about Princess Jasmine.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, so that's really fun. So that's going to be, it was so random and amazing that like 2 books in a row, I got asked to do these kind of iconic female characters. So I feel very spoiled when as I'm writing my own kind of original characters, I'm like, I miss Dinah and I miss Jasmine. So yeah, it's really fun. I would say there's for sure more pressure because you want to make the fans happy. And I feel so much more responsibility to get the character perfectly, as close to perfect as I can. But it's so worth it because just to be part of this character's legacy is just a dream.
Have you found that it's drawn a new audience to your books, like from writing in this comic fandom?
I think so. You know, I don't know if it might be too soon to kind of tell because the book did just come out at the very end of December 29th. But I've definitely heard from a lot of fans of Black Canary that they say, oh, I'm going to go back and check out the final 6 now, which was the book series I did before this. So, you know, that's always the goal and the hope. So, I mean, I definitely think if you like this one, you'll like my other sci-fi series. So,
and ultimately, what is it that you hope that readers get out of this?
I love that question. Thank you for asking it because I thought about it a lot actually as I was writing. And again, what means so much to me about Dinah, about Black Canary, is the fact that her power comes from her voice. And so I really wanted readers as they were reading it to kind of see that power in themselves and know that the most important power that any of us has is not something that is outside of us. It's not like Thor's hammer or, you know, it's not like a magical lantern. It's nothing like that. It's our own voice and what we can do with our voice and how we can, you know, speak up for what's right and uplift people who aren't able to use their voices. So I really wanted people to come away from the book, you know, most importantly, having read a great story and really, you know, feeling like they went on a ride with these characters, but also walk away feeling like I can change the world. Just me, like I can be a superhero, just using my voice and speaking up. And so that would be my dream if that's what people got out of it.
I really enjoyed the well, I won't spoil it for people, but I really enjoyed the reveal when it's revealed who Dinah did hear singing, and that was a scene that I very much, when I was reading it, I was like, oh, that, I felt it.
Thank you. I think I might have cried when I wrote that. I also cried while I was writing. I think it's because I'm a mom of a 3.5-year-old, but when I was writing some scenes of Dinah remembering her mom, because this isn't really a spoiler, but Dinah's mom, Dinah Drake, has passed away when our story begins. And so when I was writing those kind of moments of memories, I definitely was crying, just, thinking of that. So Dinah in this story is raised by her dad, Detective Larry Lance. And that was another really fun relationship for me to get to write, and a character that I really enjoyed writing, of this, this Gotham City PD detective who's very much torn between two worlds and responsibilities.
And so for one of the characters, were they inspired by your grandmother?
Yes. There is an Iranian opera singer character. It's a small but pivotal role. And that was really me getting to write my grandma, hopefully, in some magical way, getting to kind of finish my grandmother's story, because I actually never got to meet her. She died in a car accident after escaping from Iran, before I was born. And so I was actually given the name Monir as my middle name. And so I made that my pen name because I wanted to kind of carry on her legacy. And it's really interesting because for so long, Black Canary is my 7th book. And before this, a lot of people had said to me, you should write about your grandmother. And it always felt so personal and sad. And it's just really interesting that the most American project I've ever been given, which is a superhero, that was the one where I was like, this is where my grandmother fits in. But it's just, I think that kind of distance made it safer for me to kind of explore those themes and, you know what I mean? And sort of write her into the story. And it's a really small, but important important role. So yeah, I know it's like the most personal project ever, considering it's what you would call work for hire, but I feel like it's my baby.
Again, like I said, I really did enjoy reading it. So
I'm so glad. Well, that means so much coming from you. And I also wanted to say, because I'm such a fan of your channel, that I have these special limited edition posters that Random House made, and they're signed by the amazing cover artist, Jen Bartel, and me. So any of your viewers who buy the book and want this poster, I would love to give it to them as a gift with purchase. Just email me at alexandramonir.books@gmail.com with just a screenshot of your order, picture of receipt, and your mailing address, and you will get one of these. Just mention Casually Comics.
I'm sure that they will love that. And I love the cover. It's so bright and vibrant, and it stands out even amongst the other ones, I have to say. I really do like it.
Oh, and by the way, Sasha, I'm sending you one of these too. So
yay, thank you.
You have to, sorry, I keep showing this because I'm just so obsessed with that cover. When I saw it, I burst into tears because I was just like, oh my God, this is the most amazing cover ever. And I love Jen Bartel's work. So just the fact that they got her to do this cover, I was just like, oh my God, mind blown. Yeah. And just her pose, everything. It just, to me, it's like, oh my God, such a work of art.
No, I love it. And the little rebellious bird on her shoulder,
yes.
And just everything.
Oh, and did you notice I'm wearing birds for you today?
I did. Well, I have to say thank you so much for your time, for taking the time to chat with me and answer some questions about the book.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. And it's such a joy to get to talk about this book with someone that's so steeped in the knowledge and is already a fan. It's so nice to talk to a fellow fan, because again, I just feel like there's a lot of people that don't know as much about her. And so I love that.
And
we're changing that.
I love the opening up of the attempting to get these characters out there to different avenues to people who might not have found them otherwise, because it can be, I find, a little difficult to get into it. I remember the first time I went to buy a graphic novel, I went to the bookstore 4 times just because I didn't know what I wanted, because it was just so overwhelming. It was just this huge shelf of everything. So I feel like things like this can help be a gateway to get people to be like, okay, I do like this character, and then, you know, go and branch out from there, almost like a bit of a stepping stone kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that. And in fact, some of my readers from my previous books that, you know, just they didn't really know who Black Canary was, or a lot of people say, oh, I don't really read superhero books, but I'm going to pick this one up. And then they went on to realize, oh, I really like this character. And so I think you're totally right. There are people, it is interesting that some people just sort of think of superhero stories or comic book characters as its own thing. And once you kind of bring it into the context of, you know, a book, like a prose novel, they're able to realize, oh, wait, I do like comics. I do like these. Thank you so much for reading it. I'm so glad that you liked it. I was, again, because I've seen all your videos and I know how much that you know about Black Canary. I was like, oh, I hope she likes it.
Thank you so much for reaching out and getting in touch. Like, it was really great. It's always a weird, like, surreal moment where I'm like, people watch me?
I do. Totally. I know I emailed my publicist and I was like, I love this channel. Is there any way we can, you know, send her the book? And so. Yeah, no, it's great.
I'm glad that we were able to work something out. Like, especially with like kids and stuff, scheduling everything is just like always a nightmare. So I'm glad it worked.
My mom is over right now, like entertaining my son in the other room.
No, I know. Same. My husband took our kids to his mom, so we could do
the moms for the win.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for chatting with me. I really appreciated it.
Oh my gosh, it was awesome, and I can't wait to continue watching more of your videos because they're awesome.
And tell the people where to find you, where to reach you, where to find your books, all of that good stuff.
Oh yes, thank you. So I am on social media, Twitter at Timeless Alex. Timeless was my first book, and as you can see, I made my handle around that, but hey, it's timeless, so I guess it works. Instagram, I'm just at Alexandra Monir. Website is alexandramonir.com. And again, if you want one of these posters, please just email me your proof of purchase of the book to alexandramonirbooks@gmail.com. I'll spell it out really quick, ALEXANDRAMONIR books@gmail.com. And also make sure to mention Casually Comics and whatever address you'd like the poster sent to.
No, thanks so much. And thank you again for your time, and say bye to all the comic peeps.
Awesome. Thank you all for watching.
So you made it to the end. I hope that you enjoyed and that it was interesting, informative, and fun to listen to. And if you're interested in hearing the song the Black Canary sings or getting it for yourself, I have links for that down below as well. Now, of course, if you want to get that poster, you just need to email Alexandra at the email that she specified with proof that you got it. And of course, if you are interested, as mentioned at the start, there is a link down below to where you can get it. I do love this cover. Look at it. Colors be poppin'. So as always, let me know all of your thoughts down below. If you have read the book, let me know what you think about it. And of course, do all the other YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notifications so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. I expect many comments will be on my shirt. The Abomination. Well, I love it. I feel like if Zatanna was a couch, and I'm here for it.